Ripple XRP holders are completely losing their minds right now after one unbelievable narrative started spreading across the internet. And honestly, the reaction became so massive so fast that even longtime crypto investors were shocked, because suddenly, social media exploded with one terrifying headline: Trump leaked the collapse date. Now instantly, XRP communities went into full speculation mode. Influencers started posting nonstop. Crypto live streams exploded overnight, and investors everywhere started asking the exact same question. Is something much bigger happening behind the scenes right now that ordinary people still don't fully understand? Because historically, whenever financial fear, political uncertainty, banking instability, and digital asset conversations all collide at the same time, markets become extremely emotional very quickly. And that's exactly why this latest XRP narrative spread like wildfire across the internet. Now, before we go any further, let's make something extremely important clear immediately, because the internet exaggerates political and financial headlines faster than almost anything online. There is NO verified evidence proving Donald Trump leaked an official collapse date. There is NO official confirmation proving XRP suddenly replaces the global banking system tomorrow. And this video is definitely not financial advice. But what we are going to discuss is why financial instability conversations are increasing globally, why governments and institutions are aggressively modernizing financial infrastructure, and why XRP supporters believe Ripple may already be positioned around one of the biggest financial transformations in modern history. Because honestly, once you really begin understanding how global finance itself is evolving, the excitement surrounding XRP suddenly starts making much more sense. Now think carefully about what's happening globally right now, all at the same time. Governments worldwide are carrying enormous debt levels. Inflation continues hurting purchasing power. Banks are facing growing pressure to modernize. Commercial real estate concerns continue increasing. Liquidity efficiency is becoming more important globally. And institutions everywhere are preparing for increasingly digital financial ecosystems. That transformation is real. And the craziest part? Most ordinary people still don't fully realize how enormous this transition could eventually become. Now think carefully about how financial systems historically evolved during periods of stress. When pressure increases, governments adapt, banks modernize, institutions search for efficiency, infrastructure evolves. And new technologies often accelerate much faster than expected. That's exactly why blockchain infrastructure conversations became increasingly important across institutional finance. Because improving efficiency at large scale matters enormously during uncertain economic periods. Now let's talk about Ripple specifically, because honestly, this is where things become especially interesting. Ripple spent years focusing on institutional infrastructure instead of retail hype cycles. Cross-border settlement, liquidity movement, financial interoperability, payment modernization. Those are trillion-dollar institutional conversations. And now suddenly, the financial world itself appears to be moving directly toward the exact areas Ripple spent years preparing for. That's why supporters believe XRP may already be attracting increasing institutional attention quietly behind the scenes. Now think carefully about this. For years, most crypto conversations revolved around meme coins, retail speculation, short-term hype, social media pumps. But now, the conversation is evolving rapidly. Institutions are discussing tokenization. Governments are building digital asset regulations. Banks are integrating blockchain research aggressively. And financial infrastructure globally is modernizing much faster than average people expected. That's enormous. Because once institutions stop asking, does blockchain matter? And start asking, how do we safely integrate blockchain into financial systems? The entire industry enters a completely different phase of evolution. That's exactly where many XRP supporters believe the market may be heading now. Now let's talk about liquidity, because honestly, this is one of the most important parts of the entire conversation. Every single day, trillions of dollars move globally. Corporate settlements, international trade, government transactions, foreign exchange operations, cross-border liquidity systems. The scale is almost impossible for ordinary people to fully comprehend. And yet, despite modern technological advancements, much of the infrastructure handling these movements still contains major inefficiencies, settlement delays, operational friction, liquidity fragmentation, cross-border payment inefficiencies. That's exactly why institutions worldwide started aggressively researching blockchain infrastructure more seriously. Because in finance, efficiency matters enormously. Saving seconds at institutional scale can save billions. Improving liquidity movement improves operational efficiency. Reducing friction improves competitiveness globally. And XRP supporters believe Ripple positioned itself directly around those exact institutional conversations years before mainstream finance publicly acknowledged where the world might eventually head. Now here's why collapse conversations create such powerful emotional reactions online. Because people everywhere already feel financially uncertain. Housing became harder to afford. Inflation reduced purchasing power. Debt levels exploded globally. Traditional savings feel weaker every year. And meanwhile, giant institutions always seem to position themselves early before ordinary investors fully understand what's happening. That frustration creates enormous emotional energy around disruptive technologies connected to the future, especially technologies promising faster, more efficient, and more interconnected financial systems, especially XRP. Now again, balance matters because social media exaggerates absolutely everything instantly. There's no guarantee XRP automatically dominates future financial systems. Competition remains intense. Stable coins continue expanding aggressively. Governments may prioritize centralized digital currencies instead. Banks could develop entirely private blockchain infrastructure. And nobody knows exactly how adoption unfolds long-term. But what feels increasingly undeniable now is this. The financial world itself is transforming rapidly. Digital infrastructure is expanding globally. Institutional blockchain adoption is accelerating. Tokenization conversations are exploding worldwide. And XRP continues remaining directly connected to discussions surrounding liquidity movement, settlement modernization, and cross-border interoperability. Now, let's talk about tokenization because, honestly, this topic may completely reshape global finance over the next decade. Most average people still don't fully understand how enormous tokenization could eventually become. Imagine stocks settling digitally instantly, real estate becoming globally tradable, government bonds moving through blockchain systems, assets trading worldwide 24/7, programmable financial ecosystems operating automatically across borders. That future sounds futuristic today, but major institutions are actively preparing for it right now. Banks are modernizing infrastructure aggressively. Governments are building digital finance frameworks. Asset managers are investing billions into tokenized ecosystems. And financial systems globally are evolving much faster than average people realize. Now think carefully about what happens if enormous amounts of tokenized value eventually move through digital ecosystems globally. Liquidity becomes critical. Settlement efficiency becomes essential. Interoperability between systems becomes incredibly valuable. That's exactly why XRP supporters believe Ripple's infrastructure could eventually become highly important long-term, because Ripple focused specifically on moving liquidity efficiently between systems. And that emotional reality is exactly why so many XRP holders suddenly feel like something massive may be building underneath the global financial system right now.